Thanks for joining in on S&M Radio. I'm Shanon.
And I'm Mark.
So we are taking a trip back. In this episode, we're going to talk about a TV series that is from our childhood, 83. Oh, wait, no, it didn't come out when we were kids. It just came out like a month ago. Weird.
And you would never know that because He-Man was on TV in that show. Which is pretty cool.
You know, I wonder if that show would even make it on TV nowadays. I can't imagine that a real muscular guy running around in his underwear would be something that parents would let their kids watch anymore.
And it was just like G.I. Joe. It had like the moral lesson at the end of the show. Remember that? They'd have like at the end of the episode, they'd have like Orko or Skeletor or something like, stealing a candy bar and then having to, go and return it. And then a big like lesson and don't steal, kids kind of thing. Remember that kind of stuff?
Wow. Why? Our little group of friends didn't see that at all then.
I don't think so.
Didn't Transformers do the same thing? And if I remember right, too, do you remember the show that? And again, I don't even know why this was even a kid show, but there was a cartoon based off of the Rambo movies.
Oh, it was horrible. Yeah, I was like so excited to see that. It was like Rambo and animated Rambo, and then like when you watched it, like Rambo doesn't kill anybody, he like just jumps them. Like there'll be some like military guy and he'll jump out of a tree and like jump on him and like toss him down, and that's all he did.
And I would assume that Sylvester Stallone had absolutely nothing to do with that show.
Nope, he didn't want anything to do with it. And if you look at like the way they drew him, like he looked more like an Indian. Rambo supposedly had Indian blood in him, and so they kind of went along they tried to give him that look, and they didn't draw him like Stallone. If you thought the cartoon was bad, you should have played the Nintendo game. I
was just going to say, I've been going through and playing a whole bunch of Nintendo games lately, and Rambo was one of the ones that I was just playing yesterday. And that game is horrible.
It's terrible.
It's not as bad as the Friday the 13th game, but it is pretty bad.
Well, the Friday the 13th game is terrible, but it has charm to it. This game has no charm. It's just like Rambo killing snakes. It's horrible. And like you can't figure out where to go. It's like one of those games like they just, oh crap, like they probably had it already, like, hey, we got a guy running, maybe we'll just add a few extra backgrounds and hey, let's call it Rambo and like buy the rights to Rambo and sell it as a game. It's terrible. I used to play that all the time as a kid.
Oh, it's horrible. Actually, a lot of the old Nintendo games are pretty bad.
Some are awesome. I love Mega Man too. Super Mario Brothers. I still love that game. I actually want to get that new little Nintendo that's like fits in your hand.
I originally was going to turn my old Wii into an emulator, but I can't get that to work. For whatever reason. I've been putzing around with it. I can't get it to just work how I want it to. So what I've done is I've turned my tablet into an emulator, and I have all of the Nintendo games on it right now, which there's like 776 US released games. I mean, it's insane.
Really? You've got that many on your tablet?
Well, they're all, you gotta remember, these are all the old 8-bit games. I mean, they're all like super, super small. They're all like 100 meg or less. So they all fit within no space at all. Once you get up to, like, even the Wii games and stuff, some of those games are a lot bigger. But, yeah, it's any of the old systems, Nintendo, Sega, Atari, Commodore, even some old arcade games, they take up no space at all. Because, I mean, you got to remember, I don't know about you, but I remember when my first desktop I had on my own was some off-brand of a desktop, it wasn't an IBM. It was like a Hewlett Packard or something, or a Compact or something. I don't even know if it was one of those, but it only had, I think it was like 500 and some megabytes of memory. And I remember it must have been like 99 or 2000. We bought, it was the second generation of the iMac. It was the one that it didn't have a tray for the DVD or the CD-ROM. It had a, it just had a self-loading slot. You put the disc in and it would spit back out, kind of thing.
Yeah.
But that was the second generation, and I remember when I got that, it had 10 gigabytes of memory, and I was like, oh man, what am I going to do with all this memory? And then it was like a year, maybe 2 years later when we first got high-speed internet, and this was back in the days of post-Napster, so everybody was, it was pre-torrent days, but everybody was like downloading stuff. Back in those days, you were just downloading everything, but you were still, up until that point, a lot of people were on dial-up, so you didn't just like go and like nowadays where you can just go download anything. It was downloading like songs, like individual songs and all this stuff. But this is a true story. The first day that we got high-speed internet, I had this iMac set up and got the internet hooked up. I had my little LimeWire program all ready to go. That's what I used to download stuff. And the very first thing that I searched for was Freddy versus Jason. And I got this crappy quality, like video camera in a movie theater. And it was...
Nice.
It was like 500 megabytes or something. It was a gigantic file. I was like, oh, cool. And I was all super excited. I downloaded it. It downloaded like in an hour. And I was like, man, that's amazing. And then,
that is so cool.
And I remember how much space it took up. And I was like, whoa, I'm going to have to get an extra hard drive if I'm going to keep doing this.
That's funny. That's cool. That's so cool that you were still into it. I remember when we first got reacquainted on Facebook, and somewhere on your page, I don't remember what it was, but you had the picture from the final chapter with the hockey mask and the knife going through the eye hole. And I was like, and I remember when I saw that, I was like, yes, he still likes horror. It was like a confirmation that you were still into it, because it had been so many years since I seen you. So that's cool to know that you were like downloading Freddy vs. Jason back then, because we weren't in contact back then.
Yeah, that movie's actually not that bad, but
yeah, it isn't. It's okay. I don't mind that one.
Yeah, that was the first thing I downloaded high speed. But yeah, I remember after that too, and then just having to like, oh man, what am I gonna do? And now you have terabytes of storage space, and you're still like, oh, I'm going to have to get more space for stuff. It's crazy.
Yeah, absolutely.
So this episode, we are talking about not a movie, but an actual TV series. I think this actually might be the first time we're talking about a TV show.
I think so. I don't think we ever hit any TV shows, because I don't even can't think of any that we would have hit. This one sparked some stuff for us, for sure.
Oh, yeah, for sure. And this is the brand new, it's still relatively brand new, Netflix series titled Stranger Things.
To me, Stranger Things is, well, we kind of talked about this, but it's like if you took John Carpenter, Stephen King, and maybe even Steven Spielberg and put them in a room together, you would get this. This is what you would come up with. This show reminds me of like It mixed with The Thing, and also, strangely enough, well, and mixed with E.T. as well. So there's where you get the Spielberg, and Poltergeist, Spielberg as well. But also, as I've watched the show, I'm starting to see Halloween 3. Are you catching that at all?
Not
like with the gray-haired guy, like the guy like Papa or whatever he is, the dad character for 11. Reminds me of...
Maybe now that you think of, or now that you mention it, maybe a little bit, but as I was watching it, not so much.
Just the whole like sci-fi, like remember Colonel Cochran from Halloween 3, like the old guy who's in charge of the basically the mad scientist laboratory. That guy, that character, and reminds me of him, and it kind of gives me that vibe.
Yeah, it's funny that you said that about all those folks who influenced the show a little bit. When I watched this, me and my wife watched it together, and it was one of those things where, which happens with a lot of stuff online anymore, we started one episode just to check it out, got through the first episode, and both of us were like, well, crap, we got to see what happens now. Started the second episode, and we watched, I want to say, 4 or 5 episodes the first day, and then we watched the other episodes the very next day. So we binged watched it over a series of 2 days. Right.
Holy crap.
And
yeah, I didn't. It took me about a week or two.
I was saying, as I was watching it, I'm like, man, this is like Steven Spielberg and Stephen King and John Carpenter all got locked in a room together, and we're like, so you guys want to do? I don't know, let's make a baby. And they made this show,
Yeah.
And then after we got done, because as I said 1,000 times on this show before, is I hate spoilers and stuff, and I knew that people were going to be talking about this, so I stayed away from stuff as much as I could. And then after we were done watching it, then I started like looking into it and seeing what other people were saying about it, and sure enough, everybody's like, oh, Steven Spielberg and John Carpenter and Stephen King and George Lucas and Rob Reiner and this person and that person and stuff. And I was like,
right.
Oh, cool. Everybody does think the same thing.
Yeah. That even that intro, my gosh. And the music is totally John Carpenter in my opinion. But that intro, they copied kind of the Terminator intro where the words kind of go into each other and all that. The letters do to create the title. And then you got Winona Ryder is one of the stars of the show, playing the mother of the missing kid. That's incredible. And her like presence in the show, I think, just totally like amps it up. The one thing, like, okay, so you've got like the adults in the show, you've got the sheriff, you got Winona Ryder and the parents and all that. Then you've got the younger kids, or I'm guessing, I think it was like middle school age. You've got like 4 or 5 of them. And then you've got the teenagers. And the funny thing about it is like my one complaint is I don't like any of the teenager stuff. I think like I don't know what it is, but like every time it focuses in on them, I'm like just stick with the kids. Like I want to see the kids. I don't care what if you're going to go party at a house or something. They do make everybody, including like the young kids, the teenagers, and the adults, look like they're just straight out of 1983 or 4.
Oh, no kidding.
It's crazy.
Yeah.
Even like in a strange way, like I don't know like if this makes sense, but like that main girl, that teenage girl, like the main character, the sister, is it the sister of one of the boys?
Yep.
She like has a look about her. And this is very odd and strange, and it probably doesn't make sense, but people don't look like that anymore unless they were in the 80s. Does that make sense?
I would say you're probably right with that, with their hair and some of that stuff.
Yeah.
I mean, everybody in this movie, just like everything else anymore, is way too thin and
right.
All that stuff.
Yeah. And then the one main kid, that little boy, he looks like a vampire. Like every time I see him, I'm like, it's like Salem's Lot. I keep thinking of Salem's Lot. I'm like, he's a vampire, isn't he? That kid's a vampire. I don't know what it is about him.
You got to remember those kids, which was probably fairly accurate for a specific genre of children back in the early 80s, which this is set in. And him and his friends were Dungeons and Dragons type kids. So
yeah.
And they even address that in the show. These kids are sitting in this basement playing Dungeons and Dragons for 10, 12 hours on a Saturday.
Right, exactly.
So
were you a fan of that? Did you do that at all?
No,
I was never into that.
Okay. No, and that's why I was just going to say, one of the things that also resonated me with this show that I thought was really cool, which got cut out of the last episode, is the fact that there was this core group of kids. There was these 4 kids, our little core group of friends that we had in grade school, which also consisted of 4 kids. Everything that happened with those kids in this show, I thought if anything like that would have happened with our group of friends back in when we were in like 5th, 6th, 7th grade, you could have easily replaced us with these kids and it would have been transparent.
Oh yeah, absolutely. And that and that's the funny thing is like that era, that time period, like even to this day, is still like some of the most important stuff to me now. It's really weird. It's like even like you can bypass high school almost and go back to that point. And like I think of like all the stuff that I'm into now and the stuff you and I talk about all goes back to like that 5th, 6th, 7th grade era. So I think like there's this connection to that period for me for sure. But yeah, I mean, it was like you and me and, a couple other guys we knew back then for sure. And I mean, that was what we did, ride around bikes, in the neighborhood, in the woods. And oh yeah, if we would have come across something like this, and we came across some weird stuff growing up, And I love this story, by the way. So this movie is absolutely right up my alley in every way. I mean, like you've got the government conspiracy, you've got the kids, on the adventure, you've got Winona Ryder to kind of hold up the whole 80s flag, not that the kids aren't doing a good enough job. And then you've got you've even got vintage Star Wars toys in this show. How awesome is that?
It's so funny with this show. Netflix seems to have this effect on people nowadays. I don't know if the same thing held true with you so much as it was with me, but I think we were camping when this show was released and sitting there so then I was like sitting in my tent, like looking at Instagram or whatever, and all of a sudden all of these people are like, oh, gonna check out this brand new show on Netflix. And then all of a sudden, like 3 days later, everybody's like, oh my God, this show was amazing. And it just came out of nowhere. I mean, absolutely nowhere.
I saw like the big, how they put those big like ads or whatever on like the front thing of Netflix when you click on there. And it showed the kids on the bike, and it said Stranger Things, and it said something about kid goes missing or whatever. I'm like, oh, that show looks great. I gotta check that out. My wife was like hooked on this other show at the time that we were watching, and then I was like, we really should try this one. And then like one night she was working later, and then I tossed it on, and then I was like, oh, this is great, and I was hooked. I was like, yep, yeah, this is definitely right up my alley.
It is such a good story. Just to put the synopsis out there, if you haven't seen Stranger Things yet, and don't worry, we're not going to spoil this one. It's brand new, and I know people are still jumping on the bandwagon as we speak. There's probably somebody right now as we're recording, and somebody right now as everybody else is listening is just like, oh, I'm going to check this show out. I'm like, holy crap, this is the best thing ever.
Right.
So back in... the show is set in 1983, in late 1983, in a fictional town of Hawkins, Indiana. And basically what happens is this 12-year-old boy disappears, and then his mother, who is played by Winona Ryder, becomes like this frantic mother that her kid is missing. And then she ends up bringing this police chief into the investigation looking for her boy. And then kind of the whole pinnacle of the whole story revolves around this mysterious girl that appears who has abilities And then they go and they try to figure out what happened to Will, the missing boy. And then, this government agency is involved somehow, and there's this other force that's involved somehow. You have all these different elements to it, and there's all these twists and turns, and it kind of leads you down this one path, and you're like, oh, okay, cool, it's way over here, and oh, wait, I have no idea what the hell's going on.
Yeah, it's absolutely awesome. And the more you think about it, the more awesome it gets. And again, we only got through season 1, so that means there's I think that the popularity of this is that we're definitely going to get more seasons out of this. So
yeah, the season 2 I think has already been announced for next year already.
That long it's going to take?
Well, they'll keep it like a TV show. I mean, you got to remember, Netflix is like everybody else now. They're putting out their own seasons. The only thing in this, and I honestly, I know this is going to be a completely unpopular idea. To this day, I don't know why Netflix and Hulu and Amazon Prime and all these other places that are streaming services that do their own series, why they don't release them incrementally rather than just putting everything out there at once. I'm sure that there's reasons why they don't do that, but I think it would be kind of cool, which I know a lot of people are like, shut up, man, you don't know what the hell you're talking about. But they should release it like, okay, we're releasing Stranger Things Season 2. It's coming out starting August 1st, and then August 1st an episode comes out, and then August 8th an episode comes out, and you have to sit there and wait for them like you do everything else.
Yeah.
It was cool to watch all of it like in a row. That's the other thing too, when you're watching, like, this is a 8-episode series or season or whatever you want to call it, and we watched all 8 episodes within a matter of 2 days. And when you're doing that, you don't lose anything necessarily between the first episode and the 8th episode. So you know, if there's any callbacks to episode 2 and episode 7, you're like, oh yeah, I remember that, or I remember who that guy was, or
right.
Without having to watch it 80,000 times, which I know there's a lot of people out there that do stuff like that. I mean, I have a daughter who is a Walking Dead fanatic, and she, watches Walking Dead every day, and she's probably seen every episode multiple times to this point. So it's just one of those things that every time when I see these shows come out, like, oh, season 4 is available now. You can watch all 20 episodes in one setting.
Yeah.
I'm like, oh.
And then you just burn right through it. Yeah.
Which, I mean, there's nothing wrong with that. But maybe it's just going back to nostalgia where you're like, oh, I'd love to see this and have to wait a week to see the next one.
Yeah, I think there's like sort of a spiritual thing about that where that, it's when it comes out, everybody's going to be watching it at the same time. Kind of like Charlie Brown's Great Pumpkin. It's cool to have it on DVD and all that and pull it out every October, but there's something even cooler about knowing that at 7 o'clock on October 28th or whatever, it's going to be on ABC and everybody is going to be sitting down watching it. I don't know. There's something there's just that sense, like that connection with stuff. I'm like one of those guys too. When it comes to movies, I'm really, really old school. And Carpenter said this once, and I could not agree with the man more. He said that, movies were not designed to be watched on your phone or on your computer. They were designed, and he's explained this many times. He could not believe that he ever had to explain to somebody in an interview that movies are intended to be seen with a paying audience at a movie theater on a big giant screen. That is what they were designed to, with no distractions, not at home. And when video came out in the 70s and 80s, that's great and all, and that it created a lot of cult favorites and all of that, and that's fine to watch it there. But the main intention of every film is to be seen with a paying audience on a big screen in a theater somewhere. And I agree with them. And the same with and TV shows are designed to be seen, in the sense that that other people are watching it too. So there's this sort of connection. I miss the days like you and I still do this, but a lot of people don't do this anymore. a movie comes out and it's like, oh, let's go see it. And then we go and we see it and then we leave it and then we like talk about it and we analyze it and we explain how great it was or how bad it was. People don't do that anymore. Like people go, like they watch it on their phone or they watch it on their computer. They watch, snippets of it at home, but they're like, preoccupied with other things while they're watching it. That's kind of the cool thing about our podcast is it's forced us to kind of really focus on films again. And in a day and age where like everything is competing for our attention and everything is like, you don't get to sit down for an hour and a half or whatever to watch a movie. So with this TV show, I think it's kind of cool that, it's accessible because it's all there and we can watch it whenever we want. But it is cool. I think it is cool that other people are catching on to it. And, and I guess, you have to embrace the future and technology. So in today's day and age, to have people talk about it on Facebook or Instagram or whatever is kind of cool because then that everybody's experiencing it together. So I don't know where I was going with that ramble, but John Carpenter is awesome. That's I think what I was trying to get to. So
at the end of it there, I was like, oh, wait, who are you? What have you done with Mark? Talking about new technology and embracing stuff.
That's not me. Yeah, not at all, man.
Well, you brought that full circle there. You started with Carpenter and you ended with Carpenter, so...
I did. Yeah, he's incredible, by the way, yeah. Awesome. Best director ever.
We already covered all of that in another episode, so we'll leave that...
Well, we could do another episode on Carpenter.
Oh, man, I don't think we could. I don't think there's enough out there to do it on there. The one thing I will say with Winona Ryder in this show, at first, when she first came on screen and she was, doing her thing, me and my wife both were like, man, she looks horrible. She looks absolutely horrible. And then, you get into the character and stuff and you're like, oh, that's how she's supposed to look. They did that on purpose.
That's what all our moms looked like in 1983 or 4 or whatever. They were all like hardworking and, had some, job they had to do and, that they didn't really want to. And they worked terrible shifts and then they had to take care of us and, make sure that we were getting our steady, input of Captain Crunch and, our TVs were working and,
So do you think Winona Ryder's character in this series ever, her son was like, hey, I'm going over to so-and-so's house to play, I'm going over to Mike's house to play Dungeons and Dragons today. And she was like, oh, did you get the new expansion pack for Dungeons and Dragons? Yeah, Mike's got it. Okay, well, you need him to bring the book over here so I can read it before I let you play it.
Yeah, well, she did create the world's largest Ouija board in her living room, so I think she was probably not too concerned about that stuff.
Yeah,
I think she was. I honestly really when you think about it, this show being what it's about and in the era it's based in and the influences that the filmmakers, TV maker, whatever you call them, were being influenced by the idea that the fact that one of them said, you know what, let's get Winona Ryder to be one of the moms. To me is the coolest thing in the world. To me that's yeah, why not? Because who she's the you think about it, she was in kind of the weirder offbeat stuff like Heathers and Beetlejuice and stuff like that, and it's yeah, of course it would be her. She was such a presence back then, and I think she works perfectly. And it's really cool to see her name during the opening credits. And by the way, I'll be driving on the road with my phone on YouTube plugged into my auxiliary with the theme song for this blasting, and it feels like, oh yeah, this is awesome.
It's funny. You are the second person that I've talked to about this show, and I haven't talked to too many people about this show. You are the second person of the people that I've talked to about this show that are just in awe of Winona Ryder on the show Which, and I'm not, there's nothing wrong with that. I just think, I never really thought of Winona Ryder as like the spokesperson for female actors of the 80s, as a few people seem to think, which is, I mean, there's nothing wrong with Winona Ryder. I mean, Winona Ryder in Beetlejuice, she was kind of cute in that movie.
Oh, yeah. She was gothic.
Yeah, I just think it's kind of funny. You're the second person that's like, oh my God, Winona Ryder. But it's the other thing with this show, and I mean, a lot of shows do this anymore. So you had Winona Ryder as the frazzled mom, and then you had the Matthew Modine's character, but Matthew Modine, like Winona Ryder, is kind of a bigger name actor. Of the people in the show, he's probably second most recognizable to Winona Ryder. But other than that, everybody else in this movie, I think, is, for the most part, a newer person. If they've done anything, it probably hasn't really been anything of much notoriety.
Yeah, I think you're right.
Yeah, I didn't recognize anybody else. But everybody in this story, or in the show, I think, did a phenomenal job. Even you were saying earlier how you didn't really care for the teenagers in the story. And I think for the most part, the teenagers that were in this story, the actors that portrayed those characters, I think that they did what they were supposed to do, which is make you not like them. Because even the sister, I don't think, up until the very end of the series, which I'll probably end up cutting this out, but I don't even think that the sister character was supposed to be likable.
Okay. Yeah, maybe not. Yeah, maybe you're right now when I think about it.
Yeah, but everybody else was... I mean, everybody was... even the sheriff, you went from... you had one feeling towards him at the very beginning of the episode, and that contradicts with how you feel for him at the end of the series.
Yeah.
And I will say this, the one thing with this police chief in this movie, when this show first started, which goes back to my favorite movie from last year, and this whole sequence starts with this police chief, and this isn't giving anything away, but he wakes up and stumbles out of bed, and he's smoking and drinking, and I'm like, oh, is this Wolf Cop Part 2? That's going to be amazing. But then it wasn't.
Yeah, I never thought of that. You're right. It totally is Wolf Cop. Maybe Stranger Things is the prequel to Wolf Cop 2.
Yeah, I didn't see any werewolf wieners or anything, so.
Not yet, at least.